It's 7:31 Central African Time. Hello, Sunny Bonani. Welcome to Melbourne, Australia. It's the second race of our top Tier 1 Breakaway League Racing showcase, or indeed race, if you just want to keep things simple. My name is Bob O'Connor. I'm joined in commentary by none other than Brett Tox, of course. Tox, how are we looking? Yes, it is Shubile, indeed. 14 drivers represented on the grid. We saw a beautifully dramatic race, the season opener back in Baku a couple of days ago. And, well, these drivers, being the superstars that they are, they have crossed the oceans. They have traversed continents. And right now they are down under in Albert Park in the city of Melbourne in Australia. Look at that. Mandla is here. Don Laka, Tapiso, Malusi, the Malusi Mex, Loveness, Merch, Django, and all the like, of course. Looking forward to what is sure to be a beautiful race. Kaboza, and Nebo Zotal, Tepo Temba, Nkawako, aka D-Wax, Sikle, and of course S. Buddha. Makes it a full contingent of AlphaTauri once again. They are all here. They will have 18 minutes to secure their spot in Q2. But, of course, with it being a slightly reduced field, there's a little less pressure in Q1 as compared to what will be in Q2. So, it's our top tier of Breakaway League Racing. Thank you so much for joining us. Man Ray is in the comment section. He says, I read some disturbing comments last night. I'm ready to bite back. Man Ray, of course, putting on quite a show yesterday. Man Ray being, of course, the Tier 2 driver who secured pole position on this year's track before the race. It kind of went pear-shaped, sadly, for Man Ray. And, of course, well, he's looking to bite back, as he says in the comment section. Let's see whether or not it's going to be a good day as far as Man Ray laughing at those, perhaps, who might have been a little bit harsh on him. But, of course, the story is about these drivers that we have here looking to secure their spot in Q2. Only 15 drivers will take part in Q2 after this initial 18 minutes. So it's not too much pressure, as I've said. But the big story, of course, is the overall battle to, well, eventually win this Drivers and Constructors Championship. As things stand, one of the leading contenders, if you will, or one of the protagonists as far as this championship is concerned, is indeed the Mercedes duo. You've just seen Sikle, the reigning champion, three-time reigning champion. His teammate, of course, is none other than Smirch Django, a man that Sikle lobbied heavily to get on his team. And, well, Django obliged. And on top of that, Django went ahead and won the opening race of the season, securing that oh-so-precious 25 points. Sikle came home second. That is, of course, Django's teammate, also in the Mercedes. And in third place last time out was another rookie, Moteo Mekwa, a.k.a. Mex, in the McLaren seat as one of the cars makes way. Here comes Django that we're on board with to see how his initial hot lap goes. He will look to just take it easy, keep that car intact. And I'm not sure whether or not he'll be really giving it a proper push. Meanwhile, Mandla has retired from the session. Look at the bottom right. Mandla lost his car just after turn 2. Mandla, with rotten luck, it was a similar situation last time out in Baku. Before we restarted the lobby, Mandla lost his car in Q1. Well, it's a repeat scenario, but he might not be lucky to have the lobby restarted, rather. Mandla is out of the session, will take no further part in qualifying as things stand. Meanwhile, Django's Sector 2 split is in the high 40 seconds, so we'll see how he puts the rest of his lap together. Kaboza is out. What's going on? Mandla and Kaboza crashing out of Q1 before setting a time. Drama at the start of this session here. If you've just joined us, we're watching Django, the would-be pretender to the crown, to the throne. He is looking, of course, to usurp Sikle, but it's a long way to go in the season yet. Meanwhile, here he is on the main straight, opening up that rear wing, sending it hurtling down towards the line at the 118.782. How is that for an initial banko lap? A beautiful first effort. His teammate Sikle is on the brink, on the verge of setting his initial time. Medium compound tires, 120.090. One of the McLarens is going to make its way past here. I think they're still on their outlap, though. So instead, we will catch up with one of the following pack. I think Donathan Laka might be one of the drivers who's on the verge of securing his initial banker lap. How will he do, I wonder? Don Laka, also another rookie who was doing well up until he crashed out of the race in Baku in dramatic fashion, of course, for him. Meanwhile, Tapiso for Haas secures a 119.880. So Django, on his initial push lap, the only driver to breach that 1 minute 18 barrier. So let's see how Don will do, looking to match some of the top runners. It's only a 120.372, good enough for P4 as things stand. Well. Man Ray in the comment section says Australia is not easy, hence people spoke as they wished yesterday. They're finding out today how difficult it is. Don Radico expects a time in the 1 minute 17s eventually for the likes of the championship leader, Smirch Django. We'll see if that is to Teppo Temba. Brilliant initial effort from him, 119.9. He joins Tapiso and Django as the only three to set times in the 119s. What about Malusi the Malusi? He came out quite some time ago, but he's given it another go, another push. It looks like Mex managed to rebound. He set a 119.512. So they're inching closer and closer, perhaps, possibly, to the scorching lap that Django perhaps put in. The top on board with Mello the Mello. Racing, of course, this year for Team Williams. How will he do? Last time out, Malusi the Malusi crashed out in dramatic fashion. He could not finish the race in Baku. Will be looking to turn up the heat, turn up the pressure on the rest of the grid. We're on board now with the Williams driver. He is, of course, partnered with none other than the other rookie, that being King Rapture, who we do not see on the grid as yet. His Sector 2 split, Malusi the Malusi, is in the 45 seconds. I do wonder how much speed he can carry through those also treacherous corners and into... Oh, no issue there through turn 11 for Malusi the Malusi. He's going to navigate 12 without much incident, and then the final... turns 13 and 14 to then point that Williams straight down towards that start-finish line and, of course, secure his initial banker lap. What'll it be for Mello? He's looking good, and it's good enough for P3, 119.553. Malusi and Malusi, P3, as things stand as we look to wrap up Q1. Now, all these guys need to do, that being Esbuda and D-Wax and Zotal and the like, they've yet to set their banker laps. All they need to do is just... keep things steady, keep things calm, just bring the car home. Mambla and Caboza crashing out lifts all of the pressure off their shoulders. All they need to do is just set their own banker laps. Zotal's looking good. His Sector 1 split is in the 27 seconds, the mid-27 seconds. How will he do now in Sectors 2 and 3? Here he goes now on, of course, this modified circuit here at Albert Park. It's Zotal for Team Alpine once again. He got a renewed contract here. His Sector 2 split 45.702. Let's see how he will fare now as he sends it screaming down towards turn 11. He's looking okay thus far. Of course, he knows now that all he needs to do is just avoid the drama, avoid the spins, avoid the possible totaling of the car. Caboza, meanwhile, one of two drivers to crash out, is here in the comments. He says, yes, this was a blunder. Meanwhile, here comes Zotal to cut you off front top. He's going to cross the line for a 119.8. It's P4. It tucks right behind Malusi the Malusi. Well. Zotal P4 Tapiso has been nudged down to 5th place. Teppo Temba currently sitting in 6th. C-Clay is 7th. Remember, he has yet to push on a set of soft compound tires. And Gawako, D-Wax, and Esbuda, the AlphaTauri teammates, are currently out on track. Let's catch up with the end of Esbuda's lap. It's going to be his initial attempt. He's now on the start-finish straight. He opens up that rear wing to get that extra speed, and it's only a 123.7, so definitely some work to do for Esbuda, languishing in the 123s alongside Nebo, who also has his work cut out for him before the session is over. But, of course, all they need to do is just not panic, just keep it clean, just you have your banker lap in the bag, and, two drivers have crashed out, so there's no need to panic as yet. And Gawako, D-Wax for Team AlphaTauri. His teammate has just set his initial time. What can D-Wax do? He will cross the line for a 121.4, good enough for P10 as things stand. Well, Nebo rounds off the current active drivers, Esbuda 11th and Gawako D-Wax 10th. Lovemas P9. He had set his time on a set of medium compound tires, so let's see how he will do. Meanwhile, looks like there is a Mercedes, a W13, which is setting the timesheets absolutely alight. His Sector 1 split sequence was a 27.2 seconds. He's gone purple. He is currently the quickest man through Sector 1. What will the Sector 2 split be? 6/10 quicker than his previous effort, 45.019. We are quite likely on board with a lap that will perhaps nudge his teammate Django off that P1 spot. Turn 11 without incident for C-Clay. Clean. Look how tight he is through all those curves and all those corners. Look how tight he takes those corners and he hits those apexes. And C-Clay looking good. The reigning champion, 3-time champion, of course. Pride on the line. Championship on the line. P2. He goes 1.1 seconds quicker, but is still just under 2/10 off the mark as far as that quickest time in Q1 is concerned. So he's looking good, but not quite as quick as Django at the end of this Q1. Lot of qualifying to go. 7.5 minutes to go in this session. It looks like C-Play and Egawako, aka D-Wax, the only two drivers currently out on the circuit. It's a Mercedes 1-2 with 7.5 minutes of this session to go. Most of the drivers are back in the garages, and Ingawako D-Wax might just be bringing it home as well now at this point. Let's catch up with the comments. Thank you for joining us. Manzin Gaming says Mex is in the top 3 again. Mex, the rookie driving for McLaren, is looking absolutely good, and well, Mex is going to be the only person flying the McLaren flag high in Q2 and Q3 because his teammate Kaboza, of course, having crashed out on his outlap. So perhaps a little bit of pressure on Mex, but we've seen his quality, and he looks like he may yet be able to handle it. Ingawako D-Wax looked from the one camera angle to be slightly losing the rear end, but he managed to catch that car, and he's still looking good to bring it home safely without incident. So it doesn't look like he's pushing that much. His battery down all the way to the 20% or so. Let's catch up with the comments now. Man Ray says the guys didn't have to use softs for this qualifier, considering how few drivers have on the grid. Absolutely correct. We do hope that when the clock strikes 8 o'clock, we'll get more drivers on the grid as Ingawako improves to a 120.851, but it's still only good enough for P9. So as he carries on out here on track, he knows there's still a lot of room and still a lot of pace for Ingawako to find, but he's still looking solid as far as his season start is concerned. He finished P7 in Baku, just behind his teammate Esbuda, who came home 6th in Baku. And of course, following D-Wax in Baku was Zotal, who came 8th, and Romeo, aka Nadla, he came 9th in Baku. And the last driver to finish in the points was Mandla, actually, because we had all those DNFs, and I believe there's a ghost of Van Kobe, which might have crossed the line P10, but if he was ghosted, so those points do not count. 5 minutes of Q1 remaining. I do wonder if we'll start to see some drivers just retiring in the pits, not seeing a need to come out on track and just keep things moving all the way through to Q2. Perhaps that will be the case, but someone who's not necessarily subscribing to that is this man, Zotal. He had a dramatic race, a couple of unforced errors, saw Zotal spinning in Baku, and saw him tumbling down the grid when he was in an opportune position to take advantage of some of these safety cars which came out in Azerbaijan. So he'll be looking to keep things clean, keep his nose clean, stay out of trouble. But can he do it this time around? Hey, Maruzotal, ish. Alles kata spina man, ish. Ang pulitlezi Maruzotal ang naspina, ay kanjena suti. Ay kanjena, ay kankaka suti. Yes, perhaps he will keep it together this time around. We're just gonna have to watch closely and see if he could have a decent time this time around. Smirch Django tops the timesheets. In his post-race interview, he did say that he's not one to sandbag. He pretty much pushes and gives it his all from the jump. from the onset. Well, judging by that 118.7, I would not agree with him here today. So all these drivers have now 3.5 minutes, or just over 3 minutes 45 seconds to secure their place in Q2. And only 15 drivers would normally be going through to Q2, but with some of the drivers that have crashed out initially, it looks like only 12 will take part. And of course, more drivers will be knocked out of Q2. And the big qualifying session that, of course, we're all looking forward to is that battle for pole position, that battle to secure the front row start, or rather to secure a place on the grid that's as high as possible, and to give yourself as much of an advantage when the race begins properly. But there's a lot of qualifying still to go, so let's see how it all goes down. 3 minutes to go. Zotal is giving it a go. He's currently making his way through Sector 3 on a used set of soft tires. Turn 11 for the Alpine driver. No such issues for Zotal, aka Zotile, depending on how you prefer to pronounce Zotal's name. Towards the end of his lap, he's going to point that Alpine straight down the main straight. Will he be able to challenge the likes of Mello the Mello, or Max Ercicle, or even Django? Well, he does improve, 119.5, but it's good enough for P4, so he jumps Mello the Mello, aka Malusi, and Zotal's now up to fourth quickest in this qualifying session. It doesn't look like he's still pushing, so he might just be nursing that Alpine straight back home. Let's see how it goes. Rabico in the comment section says you haven't seen anything yet. Wait for Q3. So Don Rabico, tier 3 driver, is probably cheering on his friend, Smirch Django, rather, who's been doing sensationally well on debut in this top tier, and he tops the timesheets, does Django. So let's see how Zotal fares. I would love to hear your thoughts on who you think will be battling for that pole position in the third and final qualifying session. So as it stands, Tapiso has opted to retire his car in the pits. He will take no further part in this qualifying session. Everybody else is just sitting pretty, not really risking crashing those cars. Zotal is the only driver out on track, as you can see on the track map on your bottom right-hand screen. So, Australia, a track which is deceptively open, and of course it's a track where these drivers carry so much pace, and just because there are no tight walls for a lot of the track, it doesn't mean that you aren't at risk of absolutely losing it. It's a track which is 5.278 kilometers in length. Usually in a full race they go around here 58 laps. Its first Grand Prix at this circuit was in 1996. And Charles Leclerc holds the lap record, a 120.260. That's in the real world of Formula One. Well. When was this first Grand Prix? Of course, I mentioned it was in 1996, and it's a temporary track. Albert Park is where it's located in the city of Melbourne, Australia. And it can be quite bumpy, of course. It is, in many parts, a street circuit. But in 2022, it was resurfaced, which, of course, improves conditions for the drivers. At the start of the weekend, it's often a slippery track, and as the sessions progress, of course, as the qualifying sessions progress, of course, the drivers lay on more and more rubber onto the track, and that helps the tires get more and more grip. So conditions definitely do improve for drivers, and if it's a dry qualifying session and indeed a dry race, it becomes even more grippier. Thus, the drivers have more of a chance to improve their time significantly. It's one of the faster tracks on the circuit, and in 2019, Lewis Hamilton set a pole lap with an average speed of over 235 kilometers per hour over the entire lap. So, lots of speed on the circuit. Definitely an opportunity to show your metal and what you're made of. So, Django is the quickest man on track. Clay went second quickest in Q1. Mex, the other rookie, went third quickest, and Zotal, P4 from Malusi the Malusi, Tapiso, fifth quickest, Tempo Tempa seventh, Don Laka, Ngawako, D-Wax, Loveness, S. Buddha at level, making up the rest of the drivers who are going through to Q2. 2. Looks like only Seaclay used 2 sets of tires, and Loveness set his banker lap on a set of medium compound tires. So Loveness is saving all of his soft tires, and remember, the soft tires are the quickest compound of tire. He's saving his soft tires for Q2 and Q3, and that, of course, is the session where you're at risk of getting knocked out. So the pressure ratchets up a little bit. This is Q2. This is where we will get a couple of drivers getting knocked out as we look forward to the battle for pole position. So they'll have 15 minutes to do their thing and show their quality, their worth, their mettle. It looks like it's a selection of soft compound tires. Looking at the weather, it's gray skies out here in Melbourne, but it doesn't look like we're getting any drops of rain. So it's still looking good. And we do hope for a dry race as well, although I know some of you would enjoy seeing a couple of drops of rain just to make things that much more challenging and interesting as far as the drama is concerned. Django's showing them flames, so says Tindo in the comment section. Well. Kobe, Tier 1 driver. Hopefully we'll see him at 8 o'clock. He says, let's go Aston Martin. Kobe, of course, is teammates to none other than Teppo Temba, who we'll be catching up with in due course. Right now, we're watching Seaclay, or rather Tepiso, who has let one of the Mercedes drivers pass him out on track. And that would be actually Seaclay, who just passed Tepiso on track. So we'll stay with Tepiso here and see how he fares here. Of course, a driver of very, very good pace and super competitive. He definitely fights for every inch on the track, does Tepiso, and will not concede positions easily, will Tepiso, when it comes to racing conditions. Unfortunately for him, he crashed out of the race in Azerbaijan, in Baku, last time out. So the pressure is on for Tepiso to secure his first points for the season. Here he comes now through turns 13 and 14 and onto the main straight. And as he crosses that line to begin his lap, we'll hop on board to see how he takes it. Tepiso, turn 1, without incident, making use of all those track limits. Let's see whether or not his Sector 1 split will be among the 27 seconds, which of course the top runners managed in Q1. Here he comes now. The skies are definitely not looking as rosy as in Q1. I do wonder if we'll be getting some rain later on. 27.3 is his split at the end of Sector 1, so looking decent. Remember, the champion Seaclay is ahead of Tepiso, and he will be setting his initial banker lap in Q2 before this half driver. So we'll get a sense of whether or not Tepiso is on track. 45.3 is the split at the end of Sector 2. Ooh, had a little bit of a moment there. Had to watch and adjust his steering coming out of that little bit of chicane. It's turn 11 now, and will he nail this apex? The answer is pretty solid. Did not go too wide there. Turn 11, 12, 13, and 14 to come. The final sector where he just has to nail the entrance into the corner and carry as much speed as possible on the exit of said corner. It's looking decent. Seaclay sets at 119.037. The time to beat. Tepiso's in the 119s, but he's off by a factor of about 6/10. So he's still looking good, still in the 119s. Will it be good enough to secure his spot, I wonder? Here comes Melissa the Malusi, but he hadn't validated. So we will jump instead to Teppo Temba, who's on the verge of completing his initial lap. Ngawako D-Rex, that's a 120.4. It's good enough for P3. Teppo Temba nudges Tepiso down to P2, to P3 with his time of the 119.598. Kobe cheering his teammate on. Well, it's a decent initial effort. Looking good, looking solid. What about the drivers still approaching? Looks like Zotal is on the verge of completing his initial banker lap. How will he do? For Alpine, remember, only 10 drivers are going through to Q3 and to that battle for the pole position, the shootout for the pole position to start this race in the lead, or rather at the top of the grid. Here comes Zotal. He's on the main straight. Tupizo's looking good doing that lap, but the time does not reflect that. Weird. He must go back into the pit. Zotal crosses the line quicker than Septemba. 119.588 is good enough for P2. Tucks right behind the champion and championship P2 running driver is Clay. Well, Django, how will he do? The answer is he has made his way past that Sector 1 split in a time which definitely could possibly be challenging the likes of Clay. His Sector 2 split is in the 45 seconds. He's looking good, looking solid. Look, he's taking all of those, using all of the limits of the track is Django. And as we hop aboard him through turn 11, you see he takes that apex sweetly and nicely, no issues there. Let's go, says Packer against the FC. Looking good in the comment section. 9 minutes of his qualifying session to go. Turns 13 and 14 for Django without incident. Onto the curb a little bit and onto the main straight. Will he challenge and knock his teammates off that P1 spot? Yes, it's a 118.954 for Django. Man, oh man, oh man. Mercedes looking oh so good. Looking very, very, very solid are the Mercedes drivers at the moment. And Nebo is Zotal's teammate, of course. How will he do? He's currently making his way through that initial sector. Meanwhile, ahead of, or rather behind Nebo, is Don Lacca for Team Ferrari. He's the rookie. He's looking, of course, to set his initial banker lap and secure his possible spot in Q3. And Nebo wasn't carrying too much speed there. I do wonder, is he still pushing? His Sector 1 split is going to be quite slow. 29.0. Now, it's definitely a very, very slow lap for Nebo. He's got his work cut out for him. This is his first attempt, remember? He's definitely got his work cut out for him if he is going to be challenging some of the top runners. So we'll catch up with Nebo, because as things stand, he might even be looking to come in P10, 11, or even 12. So we'll catch up with Nebo a little bit later. Meanwhile, Loveness is pushing 27.3, split at the end of sector 1, but he goes over the track limits and he invalidates. As you see, the track map is red. Loveness is going to have to go all the way around and give it another go from scratch. So Loveness not necessarily looking too solid there. And Nebo is going to cross the line with a time well into the 1 minute 20 seconds. So he's going to have to give it another push. 123.6 is some way off the pace. How is Don looking? His Sector 2 split was in the 45 seconds. He crosses the line, 119.7. It's P8. So he's definitely at risk. Remember, only 10 are going through. So P8, as things stand, is not good enough for Don. He's going to have to possibly put on a new set of tires, or just come home to the pits and charge that battery before going out and attempting to get much, much higher than P8 as things stand. The rookie Mex has a time in the 119.8, is currently P9, so has got his work cut out for him. Let's catch up, meanwhile, with Loveness, who had invalidated, but will soon cross the line, only to begin once again. Tupizo is, well, judging by his current pace, he's on an in-lap, so he's bringing that car back home into the pits. Meanwhile, Septemba looks like he's giving it another push. Let's hop on board now with the Aston Martin driver. Septemba had a dramatic crash in Azerbaijan. In Baku, he could not secure points, so none of the Aston Martin drivers, that being Van Colby or Septemba, managed to secure any points. So they're sitting rock bottom of the Constructors' Championship standings as things stand. Let's see how Septemba will do in his attempt to improve on his current P5 in this Q2. He perhaps will not feel that his time of his best time of 119.5 is safe enough. Here it comes now. Let's see how his rest of his lap will fare. Seppo is flying, says Rabico in the comment section. Yes, his exit off turn 10 was on the limit there, but he kept it together. He improves by going with a 118.879. Never mind improvements. He is the quickest man by a factor of almost a full tenth of a second. So Smirch Django has been knocked down a peg. He's now down to P2. Seppo Tembo, what a lap that was. He was absolutely on the limit. And you saw by virtue of how he completed his lap. And Nebo, meanwhile, invalidated his attempt to improve on his current P12. He's coming back home to the pits. Meanwhile, Loveness had set a best time of 119.7, but he's coming back into the pits, so perhaps he had to abandon that hot lap. He's got about 4 minutes of this session to go, so there's still time for everyone from Enlevel all the way up to Loveness to still improve on their times and improve on their efforts. What about Malusi the Malusi? He's about to improve on his P6. It becomes P2. 118.943 sends him right ahead of Smirch Django and knocks the Mercedes driver down to P3. So what was a Mercedes 1-2 is now a 3-4 as we tick straight on towards the end of this Q2 session. Mex wants to secure his spot in Q3. He has only crossed the line for a best time of a 119.8. It's nowhere near good enough as things stand. He's going to have to keep on pushing, to keep on going. Let's stay on board with him to see how that goes. The rookie had a beautiful, beautiful qualifying last time out in Baku. He came home to finish on the podium in his debut race in the top tier. What can he do this time? He had so many mistakes, did Mex. He was saved by a couple of safety cars in the actual race. One of the Haas cars is going to make way for Mex now to make sure that his push lap is as clean and as undisturbed as possible. To the end of Sector 2 comes the screaming McLaren. Let's see how he takes this chicane. He has improved by 0.3, 145.143 at the end of Sector 2. He's on the limit. He's sending it. He's absolutely pushing it down this straight towards turn 11, and he hugs that apex. No issues there. Turn 12 and 13 coming up. Remember, turn 13, the super slow left-hander where you have to nail that corner entry, carry as much minimum speed as possible, and get that exit clean. He does so. Ooh, a little bit onto the grass for Mex. I hope that won't cost him too much grip. He's now onto the main straight. He will cross the line, will Mex, for a P2 in 118.916. Mex turns up the heat, turns it on, and sends the likes of Donathon Laka all the way down to P10. Meanwhile, Tapiso, has he lost his car? I do wonder. Doesn't look like... Yes, Tapiso has lost his car. Tapiso crashes out. He lost his car at turn 2, seemingly. So he is out of this qualifying session, meaning Esbuda and Nebo have to just bring that car home and hopefully improve well enough to set that time. Meanwhile, your champion, Seatley, is the quickest man on track. 118.427 is the benchmark. A beautiful, sensational effort by the champion who reclaims the top spot as the battle to secure a top 10 spot and your spot in the top 10 shootout, rather, intensifies. So Seatley with the time to beat by for today. So we'll see how Seakley will fare in the top 10 shootout. Meanwhile, Enlebo is on the brink. He needs to improve. Only a minute and a half of this qualifying session to go. He's got just under 90 seconds does Enlebo to make sure that he at least can challenge the times set by Don, D-Wax, and Loveness. Enlebo, what can he do now? P12, as things stand. What was your pole laps? Asked Lydia in the comment section. Well, it was a time in the 118. Or rather, it could have been 119s for Tier 2 in the qualifying time yesterday. Q3, it will come. Take it easy, says Don Radical in the comment section. And Nabo, unfortunately, is not improving, and he's gone off track into the gravel, but he manages to recover, and he's definitely lost too much time, hasn't Nabo? He's going to have to push once again. on this set of soft compound tires. So he might just be easing off the throttle there, hoping to secure his Q3 spot. Meanwhile, his teammate Zotal has improved by almost half a second. As things stand, let's see how it will go. His 119.092 Zotal is only good enough for P6. He probably doesn't feel safe, does Zotal. He knows that he needs to absolutely push. And Zotal is going to be the last man out here on track because everybody else is in the pits. As it stands, looks like Donathan Laka survives and will go through to Q3. Esbuda, by virtue of Tapiso crashing out, Esbuda might just have secured his spot in Q3. And yes, he has. Tapiso crashes out of the session. Zotal doesn't even need to push here. He might just be doing it for his own sake. But yeah, he retires out here on track, basically ushering in the end of Q2. If you've just tuned in, hello, Sonny Bonanni, welcome. We're in Australia. It's the third and final qualifying session coming up next. But your champion, Seatley, is the quickest man today. He has set that time with a 118.427, almost half a second quicker than the P2 running Teppo Temba for Aston Martin. Meanwhile, Mex is third quickest in Q2. Malusi the Malusi P4. Smirch Django, fifth quickest. Zotal sixth. Lovna seventh. And Ngawako Dwax, Donathan Laka bringing up P8 and 9 respectively. Esbuda Tsepiso and Enabo seems to have been, knocked out of the session. Look at that. Everybody, with the exception of Esbuda Tsepiso and Django, Zotal, Loveness, and Ngawako, everyone pretty much used 2 sets of tires to secure their spot in Q3. Well. What will it bring? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what kind of times we'll be looking for, who will set the quickest time, and what times will we be looking at. Don Rabico reckons we'll see a time in the 1:17s today. He was spot on last time, was Don Rabico in Baku. Will he be correct here today? Man Ray, Esbuda will not go to Q3. We'll have 9 drivers in Q3, unfortunately. Yes, absolutely. No lungs or brown boy. Says Liddy in heartbroken tone. Absolutely, we haven't seen Brown Boy this season at all. It's just been Don Laka for Ferrari. Donathan Laka. Don is the only Ferrari driver who's been flying the flag high for the Scuderia. Q3 now. I don't expect we'll be seeing anyone come out on a set of medium tires. It's only going to be the quickest soft compound tire as they look to set the quickest times here and, of course, determine their starting position on the grid when things get started.
Isikhathi amaphupa isiphelile manje awekho ama-medium tire avele ku-Q1 babhizi ngama-medium mara not now fanele uvele usethi isikhathi esifast and so on.
Yes, you gotta set for the quickest time. There's no time for pom-poms, as Picasso mentioned here. So let's see how everyone will fare here. Catching up with the comment section, Charlie 3000 says, I would be king of Tier 1 right now. Charlie 3 Stacks backs himself as far as pace and performance is concerned. Malusi the Malusi, Ngawako Dwax, and Donathan Laka are out on track. And it doesn't look like anyone will be wasting time. They're pretty much giving it a go as quickly as they possibly can. We'll see how Malusi the Malusi will fare. Sadly for Mello, he had a coming together, a crash with Josh, aka Damnesia, in Baku. We know how incredibly aggressive Josh, aka Damnesia, can be when it comes to overtaking or perhaps defending from overtaking. So he came together with this man, Mello the Mello, and that caused both of them to crash out of the race. So it's a pressure situation for Mello. He needs the points. He's got 10 minutes to do so, and he will be the first to set a representative lap. Remember, whoever goes quickest starts at the front of the grid. It's the battle to secure pole position. P1. Who will be P1, P2, P3? Let us know in the comments section. Will it be pretty much identical to the race in Baku? We will see. Here comes Mello now to turn 3. Not quite kissing the apex fully there, but he was close enough to keep it clean and carry as much minimum speed as possible. Looking good. He's tight onto the curbs, is mellow. His Sector 1 split will be a 27.161. Absolutely stunning. It is on the limit, as you can see here, staying tight to the right of the wall out here in Melbourne, in Albert Park, in the street circuit of Melbourne, Australia. Malusi the Malusi will be the first to set his representative lap. Through the tricky chicane, he comes 44.947 split at the end of Sector 2 is absolutely scorching. Malusi the Malusi, as things stand, is going to be well into the 118s, possibly a low 118 if he can keep it together for the rest of his lap here. It is going to be a lap to absolutely heap the pressure on the rest of the grid. Turn 12, not too eventful there. He looks to carry as much speed as possible. It's third gear through turn 13. Turn 14 is clean, and he's now on the main straight. He will point that Williams onto the main straight. Will cross the line with a 118.654. A beautiful initial effort for Seaclay. Here comes, or rather for Malusi the Malusi, here comes the champion Seaclay. What will he be? It'll be a 118.5, just a tenth quicker than Malusi the Malusi. So those are the scorching initial efforts set by the top two drivers thus far. Dom Lacka for his initial banker lap in Q3 will be 120.0. So definitely got his work cut out for him. Teppo Temba is next across the line. No, it's an Alpha Tauri. That being Guaco D-Wax is not moving quick enough to set a time to challenge some of the top runners there. Ooh, one of the Aston Martins, that being Teppo Temba, has spun. Zotal, meanwhile, is going to cross the line. P3, 119.7. Definitely got his work cut out for him. Only two drivers have breached that 118 thus far. Teppo Temba had spun, as you'd see right over there, so we'll catch up with him to see how his second attempt will go. Meanwhile, Max, Loveness, Django were still in the pits, and they were biding their time. Django, meanwhile, was on his outlap, so we'll see how he will fare on the rest of his qualifying attempt over here. Now, Loveness and Mex are now out on track, meaning that we'll get a sense of how they will plot themselves onto the provisional grid here. Smirch Django, the rookie who won his debut race, is now out in Australia, and look at how he absolutely uses every inch of the track. He's on the brink, on the limit. He is absolutely pushing his Smirch Django, much like his teammates. Will he dislodge Seaclay from the provisional P1 spot? With gritted teeth, with razor-sharp focus, he comes 27.023 split at the end of Sector 1 is quick. But will it be quick enough to dislodge Seaclay from that provisional P1 spot? I wonder. Here he comes now, hurtling, screaming towards that oh-so-tricky chicane where we've seen drivers come unstuck. But not Django. 44.8 split at the end of Sector 2 is absolutely insanely quick. He's now on this... oh, wow, on this back straight, screaming towards that turn 11. And how tight will he be towards the apex? The answer is absolutely cleanly. His exit is just as squeaky clean. On board back with the Mercedes driver we go. The championship leader, the pretender to the throne, the one looking to dislodge his three-time championship teammate, is on the main straight now. How much speed does he carry? He's looking absolutely good. What'll be a time to 117? Oh, it's a 118.087. He is on the brink, is Django. He's on the brink of breaching into the 1 minute 17. It's a beautiful scorching effort by the Mercedes driver as he breathes a sigh of relief that he managed to keep that clean and keep it together. Mex and Loveness are next as far as these stakes to secure their own spots are concerned. Let's catch up now with the Haas driver, Tasso, aka Loveness. You know what kind of pace he carries. He loves this circuit. I have, been privileged enough to see him take part in some simulation sessions on this here track. He does enjoy himself. His Sector 2 split is in the 45.1 seconds. Through the chicane he comes. No such incidents for Loveness as things stand. He is possibly looking to challenge the likes of Guaco D-Wax and Malusi to that P3 or possible P4 spot. Let's see how much speed he carries through here. Turn 11, no incidents, no such issues for him. Turn 12, also clean for Loveness. And of course, Mex is following behind, but it doesn't look like Mex is pushing enough to challenge Loveness anymore as far as the times are concerned. Onto the main straight comes the Haas, and it's a 119.004, only good enough for P4 as things stand. So Loveness definitely has his work cut out for him. Mex is back in the pits meanwhile, as Don Laka and Seppo Temba come out of the pits looking to consolidate their position. Oh, and Loveness sends it straight into the wall. He had secured a P4 spot, but on his in-lap, bringing it back home, sends it straight into the wall. My word, Loveness will have no further opportunity to improve on his provisional P4, and he will be hoping and praying that that P4 can stay P4, because so many drivers are going to have another bite at the cherry to bring their cars back home. Oh man, Loveness bend it. After, such a solid attempt to secure a fairly decent time. Let me know your predictions, folks. Will it be a Django, Seclay, and Mello P1, 2, and 3? Is that how they'll start this race, or how do you see things changing? Let me know in the comment section. I would like to hear your predictions. Malusi the Malusi, Mello the Mello, currently P3, and he will, of course, soon be on an outlap to give it another push, another go here for another hot lap. Seppo Temba is on the verge of beginning his hot lap attempt, and the person that we probably should be on board with, because he's improving by a factor of about 2/10, is this man, Don Laka, Ferrari's only hope. As things stand, his teammate Brown Boy has not been able to take part in races or qualifying sessions. He's gone 4/10 quicker by the end of his Q2, or rather his Sector 2 split, so he's looking very, very good as far as improving his prospects is concerned. He's possibly going to set a time in the mid to low 119s as things stand. He was wide there coming out of turn 11, turn 10 cleaner for Don Laka. 13 does not have too much of an incident. The hope of the Scuderia Ferrari, as the Futifosi are cheering him on in the stands here. Don Laka will come home to cross the line. P4 provisionally, 118.8. Well, I was quite mistaken there. He wasn't in the mid-19s, he was in the high 118s. So his sectors 2 and 3 were superb for Don, and he looks absolutely sensational for that 118.871 provisional P4 as things stand. Seppo Temba incurred track limits. He went over the track limits. He invalidated his hot lap attempt. Man, as things stand, he's really nursing that car to the start-finish line. He's going to have to push from scratch once again, and we'll just have to see how he fares. 1 minute 43 seconds of this qualifying session to go. It's the battle for pole position, the battle to secure your spot on the grid as high as possible by the time this race starts. Let's hop on board now with the rookie Mex, who has looked absolutely beautiful since taking to Tier 1 like a duck to water. He sliced through Tier 2 in his debut in this Breakaway Racing League, but he looks absolutely at home in the top tier Breakaway League Racing, cheered along in the paddock and perhaps a comment section by his teammate Capoza. It is Mex in the Papaya Orange McLaren. His Sector 2 split is in the 45.0 seconds. Well, looking absolutely sensational towards turn 11. How tight will it be? How clean will his entrance be? It's good. Gear 4 through turn 11, he looking good, carrying as much minimum speed as possible. Sector 3, the last and final treacherous, precarious corners for Mex, but no such issues for the McLaren driver. Turns 13 and 14, sends him into a spin, and he faces the wrong way, and the McLaren driver, who was on the brink of a really solid effort, is now going to have to, he's got 30 seconds to try and put something together here. He's under pressure. Meanwhile, it looks like an Alpha Tauri of Nguako Diwax is on the verge of beginning his final attempt. So Mex is really looking like he's in trouble there in his attempt to secure his prospect over there. Looks like Malusi the Malusi on his final attempt, he invalidated his final attempt to go for that pole position. So Malusi the Malusi will now have to hope that he can keep Seclay behind him, but that is a tall order, a tall prospect, because the champion, the 3-time champion, and the current person sitting in P2 in the current championship is absolutely sending it. And as we go on board with the Mercedes driver, he is looking to dislodge his teammate from that top spot and start this race in Australia from the top of the pops. from the P1 slot over here, and Seatley opens up that rear wing. Seatley on his last chance saloon will cross the line with a 117.6. It's a sensational effort by the champion. Can his teammates respond? The answer is no. 117.9 is almost 3/10 off the mark. Seatley with an absolute champion's drive, a beautiful, sensational effort to be the quickest man by far out here in Australia. Seatley, the 3-time champion, showing his class, showing why he is the person that leads and is pretty much the gold standard for Breakaway League racing. 117.6 is by far the best time we've seen in Australia in all 3 tiers. I believe Don Ravico might have set a time. No, Don Ravico might have set a time in the 118s for Tier 3, but he's looking absolutely sensational. Is Seatley. He will start this race in the top spot. P1. His teammate, Smirch Django, makes it a Mercedes 1-2. As far as the start of the race is concerned, Mellow the Mellow was on the brink of possibly lighting up the timesheets, but he invalidated, so Mellow will start in P3. Zoltal will start P4. What a brilliant drive for the Alpine driver. Donathan Laka, Don, will start in 5th place. Loveness will start P6, and Gawako, D-Wax, will start in P7, and Tepo Temba and Mex will round off P8 and 9, respectively. Man, oh man, oh man. Radical, we see you with the coaching. That said Kid K in the comment section. Man Racing looking for 5/10. Django has more to get. Seatley needs 8/10 to get pole. Well, Seatley answered your questions there. Putting in a scorcher. Look at the responses there from Sipiso in the comment section. Peace, aka the Nucho. Absolutely disbelieving of what Seatley has just done there. Powerful lapses, Radical. Very angry. Seatley is angry, says Kid K. Applause and fire emojis for what Seatley has just done. The champ is here, says Seatley emphatically. Look at that. 2/10 over his teammates. 6/10 over Malusi the Malusi, who's running in that P3 spot. Everybody using 2 sets of tires, with the exception of Loveness, who had that moment towards the end of Q3. And, it's looking absolutely sensational here in the 3rd and final qualifying session. If you've just joined us, your champion Seatley will start the race in pole position, back where he feels he absolutely belongs. We've seen Seatley time and again light up the timesheets, and he's done just that in the 2nd race of this Breakaway Racing League season. Welcome to the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. Seatley and Django, the Mercedes scorching duo that, pretty much the grid has no answer to as things stand. They will start in P1 and 2 respectively. Mellow the Mellow, P3. Beautiful day, beautiful spot for him to start at. And it looks like we have a beautiful clear day here. So the weather gods are playing along here, and not a drop of rain.
Ya vele kisila ngaliphumile yabo angathi ihembe rinyane yogcina boqobhoza la iqopha sokuninahle lapha kumaphit nabomandla lesikhathi bacrashile ku Q1 edala bahleli mara bana bayabona kuzovela ukuthi bale so it's going to be tough ngoba Rapture sekakhona.
Yes, Rapture is here. The King Rapture is here, and he's not going to make things easy for the likes of Kaboza and Mandla, who's starting from the back of this pack here. But King Rapture, of course, is Mello's teammate. So they'll be starting both towards the back of the pack here and in P3, respectively. So represented at both ends of the grid are Team Williams. We'll see how he will fare and how this race will pan out. We know that Django has insanely fast starts. Seatley, as far as race starts are concerned, are an element of his racing that he definitely is aware he wants to be improving on. So he is going to be watching his back in that rush towards turn 1. I do wonder if they'll play the team game, and if Django, instead of fighting initially, if they might play a team game to try to keep everybody else behind them while they eventually will battle it out. Or perhaps Toto Wolff, Team Mercedes, will just let them fight it out pretty much from the beginning of proceedings here. Man Ray says, Tier 1 is a movie. Every day there is something new, except for the top 2. Let's get it, says Don Radical in the comment section. We are salivating. We're so keen to get this race started.
Yeah, no, vele so bona ukuthi uzokhipha kanjani. Umelo last time. Mara ukuyiphetla isikhathi bamchayisa edading epark. Mara this time uqala ku P3 qaphelani umelo ningamnyathi umelo mhlawumbe angayithatha daddy angayiwina daddy umelo ningamnyathi.
Yes, do not yet, Mellow. He might yet have something in the bag for us. So we'll see how he will fare. We'll now get a formation lap. This, of course, is the chance for the drivers to get some temperature, some heat into those tires. You'll see them weaving to the left and to the right just to try and get some temperature into those tires. Look at that. Bad Kobe, Tabo T92, and King Raptor have joined proceedings to make it a 17-driver grid. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be fantastic. 29 laps of racing around the Albert Park Street Circuit here in Melbourne, Australia. If you've just joined us, C-Clay will start at the top of the pops. And his teammate Django will start alongside him, while Malusi and Zotal make up P3 and 4 respectively. Malusi going for the hard compound tires, so Malusi going long. Initially, he will pit later than the medium tires, which of course degrade faster than, of course, the hard tires, which are the most durable of all the tire compounds. It looks like a mixed bag as far as tire strategy is concerned. Team Mercedes has gone for a medium tire start, as has the likes of Zotal and Don in P4-5. Loveness in 6 is also starting on those mediums, and Gawako DUX also going long. So following a similar tire strategy to the likes of Malusi the Malusi. Tepo Temba is on the mediums. He had a nightmare of a Q3 session. He was looking to make his mark on the battle for pole position, but he, alongside Mex, really struggled towards the end of the third and final qualifying session here. Mex will start P9, hard tires. He's going long as well, weaving to the left and to the right, trying to get those tires up to a decent enough temperature. Remember, the tire temperature corresponds to the amount of grip that you have, and of course, more grip, the more control, and the faster you eventually get on your laps here. So that is why you see them weaving to the left and to the right. They're just really trying to get those tires into the perfect window of temperature. Tapiso, P10, hard tires for him. Espuda, P11, also in the hards, as is this man in the Alpine and Lebo. Mandla, Romeo, mistake in Q1 has seen him now languishing in P13 as his start. Caboza, the McLaren superstar, managed to have a beautiful race recovery in Baku. P14 for him. Ban Kobe is here. Remember, he's an Aston Martin driver, but will start at the back of the pack since he could not start. It's 5 lights. It's the only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out, and we are racing in Melbourne, Australia. Hopefully we get a different camera angle here, as the top 3 have managed to keep their spots. Look at the fight from the likes of Zotal. It's a little bit of carnage over here as we see one of the Haas trying to keep them at bay. Loveness has gained a couple of places here. Don Laka is struggling. He's dropped 3 places as Django has surpassed his teammate C-Clay to get a beautiful race start. Malusi is off to P3. He's hang on to his place. Loveness has gained all those positions, and look at that. Zotal has dropped 1. Tepo Temba has gained 2, and Mex as well, who is also pretty much well known for the kind of starts that he gets. Caboza and Nebo, Mandla dropping 2 places each respectively, and it looks like we have a virtual safety car because some of these cars might have had it coming together, so now it's a virtual safety car. Thankfully, it's not a full safety car at the start of this race. Don Laka has dropped 3 places, finds himself in P8. The drivers now have to pretty much slow down their race pace under virtual safety car conditions. No overtaking is allowed. Perhaps the marshals will now get rid of any debris that might be on the track. If some of the drivers might have knocked wings and lost a piece of their wings, we're going to take a look here to see what their front wings are looking like. And Gawako D-Wax is now down to P9. Raptor, who started at the back of the pack, had an insane start. He gained 7 places. He's now to P10, but he has lost a wing, so his aggressive start has resulted in him losing his front wing. The virtual safety car has ended. Rapture is still going to carry on with that broken wing. So, risky strategy for Rapture. Let's catch up with the battle for the the race lead. C-Clay versus Django. C-Clay didn't have such a great race start, was overtaken by his teammate. He's now looking to hang on to the coattails of Smirch Django. Malusi the Malusi on those hard tires is trying against all odds to hang on to the top two. Remember, the hard tires take longer to get up to optimum working conditions compared, of course, to the mediums. Everybody from Zapiso to Romeo must have had a coming together in lap one. They come into the pits early, and their race has now been compromised. They will pray for a safety car, which will then bunch the pack up together, but it might yet be a long wish for that prayer to come through. Zotal versus Loveness. He goes on the inside, does Zotal. He overtakes Loveness, and he's now up to P4. Zotal looking to recover some of those positions which may have been lost at the start of this race. He gets a clean exit out of turn 10 as they hurtle now towards turn 11. Let's hop on board now with the Aston Martin of Teppo Temba. It's a three-way battle from Zotal to Teppo Temba, P4 to P6. And they will look to challenge each other as much as possible, as we can see, meanwhile, that the top two have broken away from Mello to Mello. Mello is behind the top two by a factor of 1.1 seconds, while Teppo Temba is hanging on. Oh, Loveness goes into the wall. He sends it straight into the wall, does Loveness, and he's going to lose all those positions. Look at that wing. He has left pieces of his wing down on that main straight. Loveness will now probably have to come all the way back into the pits. His wing is absolutely gone. Someone else who lost the wing but kept on going is this man, the King Rapture. No front right wing end plate, and he's still pushing. He's still going as Rapture. Remember, he is a Williams driver, but today he's commandeered the Ferrari of Brown Boy here today. So definitely got his work cut out for him. Let's get back to some of the battles taking place all throughout the grid. Smirch Django has managed to get out of that DRS gap from his teammate. The gap between these two now 1.1 seconds. Remember, you have to be within a second of the car in front of you to be able to get that DRS and open up that rear wing to get that extra speed when the stewards enable DRS. Loveless to wingless, says Mfundo in the comment section. Having that huge moment coming out of the final corner to Loveness, and now is going to have to fight his way back. C-Clay on board of the Mercedes drivers now, lap 3 of 29. Turn 12 without incidents for the Mercedes driver as he watches the rear wing of his fast-moving teammate, who now has a 1.2 second advantage to him. There comes the Mercedes, a beautiful shot of the main straight, followed, of course, by Malusi the Malusi, who we saw in that sweeping helicopter shot in running in P3. Malusi the Malusi, of course, has the hard tires. He will run much, much longer than the two drivers ahead of him, and Malusi will pit later. He's managed to keep his car nice, clean, intact, and of course no issues for him as far as wing damage is concerned. Loveness and King Rapture have come into the pits. We saw the damage that they had as Zotal is now chasing down his good friend and competitor Malusi the Malusi. Alpine versus Team Williams, P3 and P4 respectively. I do wonder if he can get it together and give Malusi a lot to think about. He's down to about 43% of battery power as Zotal, so he's definitely got his work cut out for him. Meanwhile, it's Mex versus Don versus Teppo Temba in the midfield. Donathan Laka has the advantage of being within DRS of Teppo Temba, who's just of Mex, who's marginally ahead of him. It's going to be a nice three-way battle here as these three look to use their DRS advantage to fight against each other. Teppo Temba keeps it together. He's just watching his mirrors very carefully there. Don Laka is going to look to bring his car safely home to secure his first ever points in the top tier of a Breakaway Racing League. Don't forget, Tabo T92 is another debutant here in the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. Tabo T92, King Rapture, Don, Mex, they're all newbies to the top tier, and as Teppo Temba weaves left and right trying to break the slipstream and make Mex fight much, much harder for a potential overtake. Teppo Temba doing very, very well to keep these drivers off of his tail. This is the vantage point from Mex's perspective. The McLaren driver, whose teammate is now 4 places behind him. Caboza started, remember, towards the back of the pack, but he's managed to gain a couple of places. Hard tire starts for both the McLarens, and they're both doing okay here. Both doing okay in their battle to stay in touch here. 17 drivers! The Man Ray expects a lot of safety cars. Loveness on softs, says Man Ray, responding with a surprise as Loveness is well, Loveness is possibly hoping for a safety car because those soft tires will not last very long. Loveness will have the advantage of speed for a couple of laps, but I imagine after 6 or 7 laps, those soft tires will, of course, degrade much quicker, and Loveness will be screaming to get back into the pit lane for a fresh set of rubber. Loveness also has a time penalty to contend with. Loveness, the first driver to get a time penalty, so he's definitely got his work cut out for him. Let's get back to the battle for the race lead. The two Mercedes drivers, the protagonists as far as the race and the championship are concerned, they're fighting Mello to Mello, who is behind by a factor of almost 2 seconds. Radico says Mello needs to stay within 3 or 4 seconds, and a safety car must not come. That will play into Mello's hands. So reckons Don Radico in the comment section. Do you agree? Well, he's just got to do what he needs to do. Cicle has been saving his battery. Look at that, 94% worth of his battery power still remaining. He's really not using too much of his battery power. He's just pushing his teammate to make sure that he's the one using it. And as, of course, you would expect, to stay ahead, Django is down to about half of his battery power. So definitely got his work cut out for him, says Django. Lap 6 of 29, the top two, holding steady. Mello, 2 seconds behind the leaders, and still holding his own. Behind him, Zotao, medium tires, 1.1 seconds. Meanwhile, Seppo Temba seems to be struggling here. Has he lost the wing? Yes, he has. And that means he's lost 2 places. Mex and Don Laka have taken advantage of Seppo Temba losing his wing there. I do wonder how that all came about. It happened, of course, off camera. As we're watching some of the other drivers, Seppo will have no choice but to come straight into the pits here for that wing change, to change that front wing, and fit on a new set of hard compound tires, possibly, as there's a yellow flag in Sector 3. Was that Mex? No, one of them might have spun there. Mex is still going here. His wing looks still intact. What about that Don Laka? Ooh, Mex actually might have had a spin in that Sector 3 because he's fallen behind this man, Engawako D-Wax. Look at that gap. It's now 4 seconds behind Don Laka. So Mex, a couple of mistakes costing him. He would have been hoping to be fighting among the race leaders like he was last time, but Mex, mistakes are costing him dearly. And right now, he's got his work cut out to secure his place in the points. So Mex really struggling here to secure and consolidate his position. Let's go now and catch up with the back of the pack. Tabo T92. He's all the way down on P17, the Red Bull driver, whose teammate Lungs we haven't seen much of this season. He's got his work cut out for him. He's down in P17. Mandla is in P16. He is hoping Mandla to catch up with Ban Kobe. He's got about 1.2 seconds between himself and Ban Kobe, languishing in 15th. Of course, these guys had an incident in the opening lap. They had to pit early, and now they're going to have to go very long. And Nebo, another one of those. Look at that. He's lost his wing. Running wingless, down in P14. Loveness is ahead of him, but by a factor of about 11 or so seconds. So Nebo will be hoping for a safety car to at least bunch the pack back up here again. But although there have been a couple of incidents, not enough to bring out a full safety car, according to the race control and these stories. Loveness, P13. King Rapture replaced his wing and is looking to replace Sapiso in that P11 spot. We are on the brink of a potential overtake. He goes on the inside, does Loveness. They're side by side, wheel to wheel. Loveness has the inside line. They make contact, and Sapiso has to go a little bit off track as the King Rapture was taking no prisoners. All the aggression there, and Sapiso made a little bit of contact there, but no significant damage there. But as these two were fighting, it means Loveness is now within touching distance of his teammate. Haas versus Haas for that P11 spot. Sapiso fought and was unsuccessful versus that King Rapture, and now will he be successful defending versus his teammate? Well, stay tuned, time will tell. This is the Haas perspective as the race lead has changed positions. Meanwhile, Cicle has overtaken Django in lap 9 of 29, and that overtake has come just after turn 2. We'll catch up with the battle for the race lead as Buddha gets a time penalty for track limit incursions as Loveness loses a little bit of ground to his teammates. So, battles all over the grid. Another battle taking place now is Mex versus Ingawako. It's the battle for P5. Mex trying to fight his way back from the mistakes which saw him tumble down the grid. His teammate Kaboza is just a couple of places behind him. So, gotta work it out. Mex versus Ingawako. D-Wax, can he do it? Lap 9 of 29. 20 laps of racing here to go. Malusi the Malusi now is still hanging on steady to that P3 on those hard tires. And eventually, remember, the medium tire runners will have to come in, and Mello the Mello will hope to eke out a little bit of an advantage so that by the time he comes into pit from those hards to a possible set of medium tires, he would have a decent advantage. Mex has DRS open. He went past the detection point. He's not near close enough to get that overtake done before turn 11. Ingawako will have that advantage. And as Mex inches closer, so too does Don Laka behind him. So, three-way battle as it becomes lap 10 out here in Australia. We've seen drivers lose it at this very corner. Mex himself had a bit of an incident which saw him tumble down, but this time he keeps it together. Ahead of these guys, of course, is Zotal, who's keeping it steady. No safety car. Well done, says Radical. And Ingawako keeps it clean into turn 1 and 2. And Mex does exactly that. Chasing them down, no such issues for the drivers in that battle, that tussle for P5. This is the perspective from Don Laka in the 10th lap here in Australia. Brown boy, wherever you are, I hope you're watching. Your teammate Don Laka is flying the Ferrari flag high, and he's hoping to secure your very first Constructors' Championship points here. Oh, he inches closer to Mex. He gets a far cleaner exit out of that chicane, but he won't be close enough to get this move done. If the race ends without a safety car, then the positions will indicate who is and who is not fast. So says Man Ray in the comments section. Battles all over the grid here, and Ingawako is struggling here, coming out of the final sequence of corners. It looks like Neville might have been disconnected from the lobby. Here comes the Ferrari of Don Laka. And Ingawako is trying to break the toe, break the slipstream. He weaves to the left, to the right on that main straight. And, of course, as a result, Mex and Don couldn't get close enough to get that overtake done. Don has lost ground coming through turns 1 and 2. But he braked much later than the pack that he's chasing here. And he manages to inch closer through this sequence of corners. Oh, had to really watch the throttle there, but he didn't quite get close. S. Buddha has crashed out of this session. S. Buddha becomes the first driver to crash out in Sector 3, bringing out a yellow flag, but no safety car as things stand. Buddha brings out the yellow flag, no safety car. Thankfully for the likes of Mello the Mello, who is still looking to take advantage of his hard tire strategy started at the start of this race. Don versus Mex versus Ingawako. It's been a beautiful defense thus far from the AlphaTauri driver. No answer does Mex give, as Don Laka also has no answer to the defense of the two cars in front of him. As Buddha messed things up for Mello the Mello, so says Man Ray in the comments section. Currently, the quickest driver on track is Smirch Django with that 122.2. And let's get a sense of what the gap is to the leader. Django is, of course, right on the coattails of his teammates. The battle that we've been watching between these three is almost 25 seconds behind the race leaders, if you account for the position of Don Laka. So definitely a huge split now The grid has pretty much settled into its pace over here, and Nebo, the ghost of Nebo, is all the way at the back of the pack, almost a full lap behind the race leaders. He's running about 107.2 behind C-Clay, who leads the pack here. Let's catch up with the race leaders, the leading Mercedes duo. Django has pretty much been using a little bit of his battery to stay in touch with his teammate. So C-Clay is just dragging Django along as the two Mercedes drivers keep on ticking right on and steady along, as Malusi the Malusi is about 5 seconds behind them, and Zotal a further 3 or so seconds behind the Williams of Malusi the Malusi, who has looked good in qualifying. He's looked solid throughout the race here, and as lap 13 will soon become 14, his strategy to start on the harder compound of tire and run longer and pit later may yet see things get very, very interesting towards the end of this lap. Remember, C-Clay and Django presumably will go into the hard tire, unless they take a really alternate strategy and go medium to soft. But we can presume that Malusi will have the fresher tire towards the end of this race. So this man may yet be lapping significantly quicker towards the end of proceedings here. Well, we'll get a sense of that, and whether or not it is true as this race proceeds right on along. Let's catch it back with the battle for the lead of this race. I think Django might just be content to stay in touch with his teammate here. No need to fight too hard here. Just stay in touch and charge your battery as much as possible. C-Clay, interestingly, he's in the lead, so C-Clay does not have the advantage of DRS. Well, now he will, thankfully, because he's going to be lapping Enlebo. So he'll get DRS from the slow-moving Alpine driver. But for the most part, just before lapping Enlebo, C-Clay didn't have the advantage of DRS. So it does look like C-Clay is the more comfortable of the two as far as sparing his batteries concerned. He's got well, significantly more battery power as compared to his teammate, who's running behind by a factor of almost 30% worth of battery power. Yep, Django still hovering at about 0.6 of a second behind his teammate here, about half a second. So we'll see how he fares. C-Clay's pace, says Radical in the comments section. Let's get back to the battle between Mex and Ngawako. Don Laka was a part of this, but he has fallen further behind in the interim. So it's Mex versus Ngawako, whose red light is flashing on the back of his car, meaning that his battery power is down to less than 10%. And Mex, who has been trying to stay in touch with the AlphaTauri, is also soon to be flashing. Look at that! Django has been trying to hang on to his teammates, but he gets a 3-second time penalty. So, it looks like C-Clay has been by far the most comfortable driver as far as the leading pack is concerned. But Django's 3-second time penalty is also going to be great news for Mello the Mello. Mello the Mello is 5 seconds behind the leaders, but he's going to be, salivating and smiling at that 3-second time penalty, which will be added to Django's time at the end of this lap. So Django's either going to have the drive of his life and drive out of his skin to still have a 3-second advantage over Mello, or somehow hope that his teammate C-Clay has a huge mistake and then loses that advantage. Well. The champion C-Clay has all the advantage here in lap 15 of 29, as these two are seeing stewards or race control, or the marshals wave the blue flag for some of the drivers that are soon to be lapped in this race. So Django now knows what he has to do. He has to build a buffer between himself and, if not his teammate, then at the very least, Mello the Mello, because everybody else is way too far behind to be challenging these top three for those podium places. That is if we do not get a safety car between now and the end of this race. So when will the medium tower runners start coming into the pits? More particularly these top two. When will Cicle and Django come into the pit? That is the question, folks. Let's catch up with Capoza, who would have been hoping to be fighting among the leaders, but right now he's fighting with none other than Zotile. I believe these two might have been teammates in Capoza's debut season in the top tier. Let's see how he will fare now. Will Capoza versus Zotile? The gap between these two, less than half a second. Zotile, remember, had already come into the pits. He's got a fresh set of hard compound tires. Does the Alpine driver ahead of Capoza here. So Zotile is still looking to get those hard tires up to their optimum working conditions. Zotile's coming to the end of his second lap on those hard compound tires. Meanwhile, Django, or rather the race leader Cicle, has finally come into the pits in lap 17 and will finally put on a set of hard compound tires. And Django will be looking to push and push and push, and perhaps somehow, if Django was lucky, then he would be hoping to come out ahead of his teammate Cicle, but that'll take some doing. Meanwhile, Egawako is nowhere near Cicle as he exits the pit lane. Tabo T92 is the second driver to crash out of this race. It's yellow flags all over. Looks like a virtual. No, it's a full safety car. The safety car is out. Oh, and this is absolutely terrible timing for Django, who was looking to push and come out ahead of his teammate. Seppo Temba was speeding in the pit lane, gets a 5-second time penalty, and Django will be absolutely livid that the safety car came out at this time, just as he was pushing to come out ahead of his teammates. Now everybody will have to slow down, but remember, even Cicle, who was pushing to be there and thereabouts, everyone has to slow down, including, of course, the people who are hoping to have the advantage by the end of this safety car. Man, oh man, oh man, look at that. Cicle, where will he come out? I do wonder, will Django opt to come into the pits now? And Melo the Mellow was on a strategy to go long anyway. Tabo T92, the second driver to retire from this race. Mellow, he was probably thinking of going longer, but he hopes to just come in now. And Django does exactly that. So that is Smirch Django, who fits his set of his brand new hard compound tires, coming now out of the pits. Where is Cicle? Where will Django be? This is, of course, the story for the lead of this race. Cicle is pushing as hard as he can. Cicle will come out. Oh, right behind his teammate. Would you look at that? So Django, the safety car played into his hands. So the way that Django was pushing, oh no, Cicle. Is it Cicle or Django? No, yes, it's Django. Well, what's happening there? It looked for a second like Django was ahead there, so no, it's Cicle's advantage. Cicle, who will be thanking his lucky stars for the timing of that safety car that was so close, but he still manages to keep that advantage. Hard tires, it's going to be, it could be 10 laps of proper pushing and 10 or 9 laps of proper pushing hard racing. Mello will be on those mediums, and these top two will be on the hard tires. Now, Cicle and Django will have the advantage of their tires degrading at a slower rate, but at the very least, Mello might yet have a slight advantage when the safety car comes in, because he's on the softer, grippier, and faster tire, at least in those initial laps after the safety car has come in. So it's going to be so crucial for Mello the Mellow to make sure that he takes full advantage of those initial laps and try as much as he possibly can to overtake the top two runners. And Mello at the back of the pack has that time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Meanwhile, Mandla has just had to come in to replace his front wing for having taken damage. He's currently P13. So under safety car, Mandla is going to hope to fight with Bankobi and Sapiso and Rapture to find his way into the points. It's been a decent start to the season for Mandla. He finished in the points in Baku. He's looking to repeat that feat here in Australia. Bankobi could not secure points. He could not race. He was ghosted in Baku. He's going to look to secure his first point of the season for Team Aston Martin. His teammate, Tsepo Temba, is in the points, but remember, he's got that 5-second time penalty, so that will definitely cost him towards the end of this race. At the very least, he will hope to capitalize on his raw pace with Tsepo Temba. We know what he can do when the chips are down. He can definitely push. King Rapture went super aggressive on the opening lap, gaining 7 places, damaging his wing. He's just going to have to keep it clean and avoid the penalties. And, well, he'll be there and thereabouts as far as finishing on the points is concerned. Let's take a look at standings now, considering that everybody is seemingly done with coming into the pits, and they're just looking to catch up with the safety car queue. It's C-Clay leading the race from Django in P2. He has that 3-second time penalty to contend with, which will make things interesting as we go towards the end of this race. Mellow the Mellow P3, no penalties for him. Zotal P4, it's a possible podium place here, depending on how Django can recover here. Zotal could potentially be on the podium, as could Don Laka. And Ngawako Dwax is currently P6. Mex and Kapoza are now alongside each other, so to speak, P7 and 8 respectively on the grid. Tsepo Temba P9, King Raptor 10th. Tsepiso is running in 11th. Bankobi is 12th on those 2-lap-old mediums. Mandla, fresh set of mediums for him, as is the case for Loveness and Enebo, who's back in the lobby. Yep, he had ghosted had Enebo, but he's now back in the lobby. But he is far behind proceedings. As you can see there, it does look like it does look like Loveness Loveness might have been lapped here already, so he's definitely got his work cut out for him. And we're now looking like we're at the tail end of this safety car period. The safety car might just be making its way back into the grid, and we're going to resume racing here. We'll see how things will go. 10 laps, soon to be 9 laps of racing to go. Your championship leader, C-Clay, leads proceedings. When will he send it? Will it be immediately now, or will he wait to try and catch them off guard? It's going to be on the straight. C-Clay absolutely sends it, as does Django. Mellow the Mellow didn't quite get such a great restart. And look, it's Zotal versus Mellow the Mellow, but he's not going to be close enough. C-Clay and Django come through cleanly. And what about the rest of the pack? Zotal hands on to P4. And Dwax versus Donathan Laka. It's going to be a huge battle. Here comes Mex as well. It's going to be almost 3 wide, and Mex gets the advantage over Donathan Laka coming through that right-hander. Zipiso, how is he doing? Oh, Don Laka and Mex almost having a bit of it coming together. It looks like Bankobi is fighting and huffing and puffing so hard against the hat of Zipiso. Meanwhile here, it looks like it's an incident-free start. Some of the drivers that have been lapped are getting the blue flag, remember. They have to make way for some of the leaders of this race. Mandla is now up to P10. He is in the point. Is the Alfa Romeo driver fighting hard to keep King Rapture at bay. Don Laka is fighting versus Tapiso for that P7 spot, but he manages to keep his nose clean and keep things intact, as he is absolutely fighting for his life. Let's get back to the battle for the race lead here. Mellow the Mellow, remember, he's on the softer, quicker tires, and Django goes off track, but Malusi did not have quite a good line. He gets the inside line coming through the left-hander, and he's going to have to bide his time, Will Mellow, and possibly get this overtake done on this section of the track. It's Williams versus the second Mercedes. Both of them are pushing, but it looks like Django might have superior straight line speed, because Malusi, even though he's pushing, as though when you're close enough on those faster medium compound tires to get the overtake done. Lap 21 of 29, Mellow is absolutely sending it. He's pushing it on these final couple of laps, and this is really such a crucial time. Mello has to get this overtake done as quickly as possible if he is to fight for this race win. I do wonder if the Mercedes are working hand in hand here, and if Django, considering his time penalty, is just playing the team game to keep Malusi at bay here, instead of just thinking about himself and fighting for that really difficult P1 finish as things stand. Mello is pushing. He's got about a half, almost just over half of his battery power left. but despite his pushes, he just can't get close enough to get this overtake done. If he gets a clean exit here, Mello, he can possibly give Django something to think about in the rush towards turn 11, but look at Django's straight line speed. It's just superior, and Mello thinks about going on the inside, but he doesn't have anything close enough to get that move done. Zotal is there and thereabouts, also on those 6-lap-old hard compound tires. Zotal did pit before the safety car came in, and as things stand, he is fighting to try and hang on to the coattails of Mello the Mellow. As things stand, Mello and Zotal are still in with a shout of possibly getting the podium places, considering Django's time penalty, but they have to be inch perfect from here on out. Tepiso on a riskier strategy as on 5-lap-old soft compound tires. As of course these laps tick on, these soft tires are going to degrade far quicker than everyone around him, and they'll start to scream, and Tepiso will be screaming and hoping for some sort of grip or traction as we go deeper and deeper into this race. Caboza has fallen down to P12, and Mex is the only person who seems to be challenging this battle for P5. Tepiso versus D-Wax. Can Tepiso get this move done on this stretch of track? Mandla has crashed out. Mandla, the Alfa Romeo driver, has crashed out in Sector 2, and it's yellow flags, and it's a safety car again. A second safety car comes out because Mandla becomes the 4th driver, as we had also lost Loveness to a DNF as well. Man, oh man, oh man, would you look at that? Oh man, that's going to be great news for Mello and Zotal. Mello, at the very least, can save his tires. There's no need for him to pit, even though he is on the compound, which degrades quicker than the hard. No need for Mello to pit. Mandla, the safety car, is a pain. Django, interestingly, rolls the dice. Django is gonna roll the dice and set and pit for softs. Well, he didn't need to pit to Django. He's going to drop down significantly. Look at that. He was fighting for a podium, and right now, he's outside of the point. So Django has put himself out of the reckoning, possibly, for the points, all in the battle to... number one, I think Django's going for the fastest lap here. He pretty much... he's resigning the fact... that he's not going to win this race, so he's probably thinking, if I get the fastest lap, that'll be 1 extra point, and all I need to do, of course, is finish in the top 10 for that extra point to count. But he didn't have enough pace, even if he was on the hards. Django did have enough pace to still be fighting for a podium, so that's an interesting call there for Django. Very, very, very interesting. I do wonder how far up he can go, how far up the order he can go. He was one of just 2 drivers, I think, was coming to the pit. C-Clay leads proceedings. Mello the Mellow, 5-lap-old medium compound tires, 1.7 seconds behind him. Of course, he'll be right behind Mello, rather right behind C-Clay when the safety car comes back in. Zotal currently running in the podium places. P3 for the Alpine driver. Ingawako, D-Wax, currently 4th quickest. Tepiso, 4th. Soft compound tires that are 6-lap-old. Tepiso will thank his lucky stars for the safety car, which means he's not pushing as hard as he would be on a regular under regular racing conditions, but those 6-lap-old soft tires will still be complaining as far as grip and traction is concerned towards the end of proceedings here. Hopefully we can get at least a minimum 4 laps of hard racing towards the end without this safety car. Mex is running 6 5-lap-old tires. Don Lacka is on 10-lap-old hards. P7 for him. Van Kobe opts to come into the pits. He was running P8, but well, he's not gonna mind. Well, he's gonna. I suppose Van Kobe thinks it's worth rolling the dice for a brand new set of soft compound tires as well. And oh no, that wasn't Van Kobe. Rather, that was. King Rapture, who had come into the pits there. Well, Django is now in P9, contending with that time penalty. So you get a sense of how these drivers are impacted. Django and Tsepo Temba with 3-second time penalties for track limit incursions. And as everybody is back out of the pits, this is how it looks. C-Clay leads, Mello is second, Zotal third, and Gawako, D-Wax, P4, Cepiso, fifth, Max for McLaren, P6. Mistakes have really cost Max, both in quali and in the race. He could have been much higher here. Don, currently 7th for Ferrari. Ban Kobe for Aston Martin, though in the colors of Red Bull today. P8 for him. Django, 9th. Rapture, currently the 10th driver, and indeed the only final driver who would, as things stand, secure points. Tsepo Temba, 11th. Kapoza, 12th. And Ilemo rounds off proceedings. Race control gives the word that the safety car is coming in. So we'll have 5 laps of racing here to conclude proceedings as Ilemo goes off track. We will have 5 laps to conclude proceedings here in Australia. Is it a slam dunk? Is it going to be a simple, clean, incidentless finish for C-Clay? Tepiso is a fighter if the safety car saves him. Django, the associate Liddy, Bungani, Debo Croc says Django is going to make it shake. P2 from here. Well, let's see how it goes. And Fundo says it doesn't make sense, responding to Man Ray, who responded to Django's odd decision to come into the pits now. C-Clay is sending it, but Mello is right there. He will not be caught napping. Who's got the superior straight line speed? It looks like the Williams driver may just have something in the back here, but C-Clay defends the inside line. And Malusi goes off track. He loses traction going onto the grass. Here comes Zotal, who goes on the outside of Mello. And will Zotal get that move done? The answer is no. He's on the outside coming into turn 3, and Mello holds on for dear life. He's still within half a second of C-Clay despite going off track there. So Mello breathes a huge sigh of relief there. He hangs on to the coattails of C-Clay there. He went for it, did Mello, but he got it absolutely wrong into turn 1. Thankfully for him, he keeps it together, and he is still in within a shout here. Ingawako D-Wax, currently P4. Look at that. Zapiso on those 8-lap old soft compound tires will not go down without a fight. As you said in the comment section, Django on his epic fight back is now up to P7. Remember, Django was in P9. Django gave up all those prospective points, and now it is a Django potential fight back here as we're in lap 25 of 29 towards the end of proceedings here at Australia and Albert Park. Turn 11 for Tepiso is without incident. Turn 12, he's going to have to get his entrance absolutely in perfect, a little bit wide. I do wonder how difficult it is for Tepiso on these 8-lap old soft compound tires. He's going to have to keep it clean, keep it together here. We've seen drivers lose it on this here corner, so you have to be also careful on the throttle here. Meanwhile, the battle for the race lead, it is still half a second different between C-Clay and Mello the Mello. Django is the quickest. The Raptor says, not exactly. It's going to be me. 121.3 is the fastest lap of the race thus far. Don Laka versus the King Raptor is one of the battles taking place further down the grid. Tepiso is fighting for his life inside of Ngawako, but will lose 2 places because he didn't get his corner entry right. Django now up to P5. Django on one of the most epic recovery drives that we've ever seen in Breakaway League racing here, as far as trying to get back into the reckoning for a possible unlikely podium finish is concerned. Look at that. Now he's fighting side by side with Ngawako. D-Wax, he's far quicker and goes on the outside and gets the overtakes done. It's P4 for Django. A sensational drive from a driver who was well and truly languishing for a potential place at the margins of the points finishes here. And Django will absolutely be kicking himself for that 3-second time penalty, because what could have been had he kept things clean and kept himself in a fight with his teammate here. And if he somehow manages to give Zotal a headache here, and possibly Mello, that will be an absolutely insane recovery drive. And as I say that, he is now within DRS of Zotal, the Alpine driver. And does he have the straight line speed? The stewards have enabled DRS for the final 2 laps of this race. It's gonna be a fight to the finish here. Malusi the Malusi still has DRS advantage over C-Clay, and Django really was cutting the corner there, went over the curve there on turn 1 of this circuit here. There's a yellow flag, and Mello seems to be struggling at the back of the pack. Oh, Django almost goes into the back of the Alpine driver. He thought about going for it, but Zotal said no. Django's going to have to fight harder and give it a go perhaps on the straight, which is coming up after this slower sequence of corners. Here comes Django right at the back of the Alpine. He can smell the fumes coming out of the back of Zotal's car. He can feel the specks of sweat coming out of Zotal's helmet, but Zotal in a straight line and on this stretch of track pretty much has all the answers to the questions that Django was asking. Django, remember, is on the quicker soft compound tire, and this is his advantage. It's DRS. It's whatever is left of his ERS, but look at Zotal's straight line speed. Absolutely no answer that Django has, despite being on the quicker soft compound tire. And what a fight this is going to be towards the end here. Django giving Zotal nothing as far as breathing room is concerned here, and Zotal's just gonna have to hold his nerve and keep his cornering on his throttling absolutely inch perfect. And Django goes on the outside here. They're gonna be wheel to wheel, side by side, but once again Zotal has superior straight line speed, and he adjusts his line to Zotal, trying to break the slipstream, almost making contact there to Django. He's nowhere near close enough. Meanwhile, the battle for the race, the Malusi is thinking about it now. He is on full-on attack mode, 30% with the battery power. Mello the Mello versus Cicle. It's the penultimate lap. It's the final lap. Zotal and Django might have had a bit of it coming together. I don't even know where to pay attention to. Mello is going for it, and Mello is in the lead of this race as Seppo Tempo has crashed out in the penultimate lap. It's Mello the Mello versus Cicle in a classic conclusion to the top tier Breakaway League racing here. It's been a sensational, patient effort from Mello, who has the medium compound tires, and right now is on about 28% of his battery power. But Cicle is going to fight back into the sequence of corners. Straight line speed, says Peace. The neutral in the comment section. Zotal and Django were swapping places. Meanwhile, behind these two, it looks like they're 3.8 seconds behind. Can Malusi keep it together in this final lap, which is going to begin soon? Look at Cicle. He has about 32% with the battery power compared to Mello, who is also there and thereabouts. So Mello has to be inch perfect in this final lap of this race, which is soon to begin here. Now, this is going to be crucial. Can Cicle get a clean exit? Zotal is holding his own versus Django, who has overtaken into Mercedes P2 and 3 as things stand. But we're watching Cicle go on the outside. He does not have enough. Malusi says, no, you're going to have to think about it again and go for it at another stretch of track. Look at that. Cicle is down to about 24% with his battery power. Can he get this done in the final lap of the race? Django managed to overtake Zotal at the death, and Malusi is huffing. He's puffing. Yes, Bambazella, hang on as hard as you possibly can. You've got 2/10 Malusi, and this is one of possibly Cicle's last chances to get this move done if he can keep it together here. It's going to have to be a sensational dive as Cicle looks to go side by side. There's just a tenth separating these guys into the left-hander. This is a treacherous sequence of corners, and Malusi has to be inch perfect. He goes so hard over the curve there. Does Mello. Look, he's down, he's flashing, his battery's flashing. Cicle has a tiny advantage. He thought about it, but he couldn't. Get it on. Oh, they both go off. They're both in the gravel, and Cicle somehow gets the advantage. Here comes Django, who overtakes both of them as they went completely off the track. Django's going to cross the line first, but Malusi, who made a huge mistake towards the end, will be kicking himself. Django, could he get the final podium place here? Because he won't be overtaken. His teammate Cicle will get the race win here, courtesy of the time penalty. It's going to be Cicle versus Malusi in the 1-2, and Zotal by 7/100ths of a second secures the final and the third podium spot in a breathless end to the Australian Grand Prix. Django rues his time penalty P4. Mex comes home in 5th. D-Wax P6. Capoza comes home in 7th. Sapiso 8th. Don Lacca is going to bring that car home. Ferrari P9, first points for that constructor. And Ban Kobe, on behalf of Aston Martin, his teammate crashed out. Ban Kobe crashes into the wall. Can he get this done? Or will King Rapture overtake him on the line? They both cross the line. And we'll get a sense of whether or not Ban Kobe secures his first points. The answer is yes. Ban Kobe gets his first points of the season. Oh my word, an absolutely breathless end to the race here in Australia. Django is back against the FC. Who's your driver of the day? Is Django your driver of the day despite the time penalty? What about Malusi in that titanic tussle with Seaflay? Both drivers made a huge mistake. A huge mistake, and through went Django, courtesy of these two drivers making that huge mistake. Who is your driver of the day? Cheering on Django, cheering on Seaflay. Debo Croc says, hey Seaflay, who the heck is driving? Lanuccio P says, well, that was entertaining. What an ending, says definitely Duke. Absolutely sensationally breathless conclusion to proceedings here. Mello says, Ludi in the comment section, if Django overtakes Zotal, he would have been in a better position had he stayed. Well calculated, says M. Fundo. So Django's roll of the dice. Perhaps now paying dividends as far as the end of this race is concerned. I don't even know where to start. Zotile is on the podium for Alpine. How does that feel in this ridiculous field? Congratulations, sir. Take us through that.
Crazy race. Shout out, man. Shout out to Tier 1. That was amazing. Quali, I normally never have the pace in quali. Managed to have the race pace. Well, let me just say relative, because Brasique and Django are just on a world of their own. Melo on the hard compound tire initially, I couldn't catch up to him. So, at some point I was like, let me settle for P4. I pit for the hard compound tire. And then the safety car comes out. I think it just gave me another opportunity to send it in the race. I tried by all means, but obviously Melo on the hard compound tire, medium compound tire was going to be quicker. So yeah, settled there as well. Second safety car comes out. There's an incident. There's an incident with Melo where there's contact, and then I break my left wing a bit. I was so hacked, I thought my race was over, but Melo was like, sorry boy, let's go. And I was like, okay, cool. Look, I've got nothing to lose. Pitting, I know, is track position, and I know being in Tier 1, these Oaks defend, they race well, so look, let me send it. What a battle with the Django. I knew Django was sending it on the soft compound tire. My hard compound tire was already warm enough. I knew I had the straight line speed, so whenever he overtook me, I'd fight back. And obviously, I was budgeting on the 3 seconds that Django had. So if he was to overtake me a lap earlier, it would have been a problem. So I had to make sure that I depend as much as possible. And podium it is. Grateful for it.
Man, what an insane drive, especially after you came out of the, well, after you had your pit stop, Zotal. That was ridiculous. And it was crazy because we watched the start of your battle with Django. And then because you're having a battle at the same time, pretty much as the race leaders, we switched to Malusi, the Malusi who was on the podium. He came home P2. It was so close, Malusi. Please take us through the pressure of those final couple of laps, because you had to be inch perfect, and you were until both of you went. Just take us through that insane pressure. I can't even imagine. Loud and clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
just 2 DRS zone. I picked zones. I did. So I'm like, check. Now, second DRS zone. Stop. Now we're going into the braking zone. So I thought I got him on the exit of the chicane out of sector.
Yeah.
But his exit was so clean, right? So I'm just thinking, let me just put the car in the middle, so he will, have to go around. But
Yeah.
I saw him going far right. By far right, I mean extreme.
Yeah.
Right. So I decided, you know what? I remember in primary, my teacher once said, when you are defending, ball, either the ball or the one must So I was like, not me, it's both of us. When I was looking where CK is at, I forgot to gauge my brake.
Okay.
And so did he. So as I realized that, okay, you know what, it's over now, we're both in the grass. Then I'm like, freak, he's also on
Yeah.
So, trying to accelerate out of the sand.
Mello, we lost you there for
I
a
think we lost
second.
Mello.
Yeah.
Mello might
Oh,
just.
there he goes.
Just for that 2 seconds, he managed to pass me, and then here we are, P2. But I'm happy, man. I'm happy. These are great results for the team.
Oh, man.
You better apologize live, Mello. Apologize live.
Sinclair.
That's a good result for the shout out, Sifia. Congrats.
Oh man,
Thank you.
first race win of the season in race number 2. We're watching you guys have a beautiful season as a constructor. Mercedes, you guys are pretty much at top of the pops in the constructors standings, but it's not going to be easy. That was a beautiful race, Sinclair. Take us from your perspective through that race, especially
I
towards the
knew
end there.
yeah, starts a problem. I knew I was going to be second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I followed Django as long as I could, and I passed him. I didn't expect him to try going on the outside there because I was already a bit clear of him. Yeah, but I had a very fast car on the straight. Hence, those hards were such a mission to drive
Yeah.
with. And Melo behind me is on mediums, and yeah, that was a problem. And they weren't turning on, hence I made that mistake. Yeah, and those safety cars, I think I would have gotten a good undercut. I was shocked that I still came out ahead of Django. The second safety car, I had created a second gap and then it came out. So I cleared him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all over the place. When my tires were working, safety car came out, and then the last few laps, they just did not turn on
Yeah.
at all.
Man, and similarly to you, as far as straight line speed, Zotal, your battle with Django, he was trying for a while. I mean, when the overtake happened, we were already watching the battle for the race lead. But your straight line speed, you had no answer.
100%. So, look, I had budgeted a bit of ERS, and I know obviously that long straight there's no DRS. So, look, it was a do or die basically. Like I said, it was the penultimate lap, so I had to make sure beginning of the last lap I'm ahead of him. So, with me trusting my straight line speed, I sent it ERS activate. I think my red light was probably flashing. In actual fact, when Django overtook me, his red light was already flashing. So I was like, look, straight line, whether we have the same straight line speed, I'm going to ERS it till the end. So I managed to overtake him, slow him down a bit for a couple of few laps. And then, like, third sector on the last lap, I saw these two spinning in front of me. I'm like, man, a race win could have happened here.
Yeah. Oh wow.
You know, you know what I'm saying. But look, I'm happy with P3. Dramatic race incident. Look, I'll take P3 any day.
Beautiful, man. A lot of cheerleaders in the comment section. There's one person who said, "That's what happens when you don't spin, Zotal."
Let's go.
Cheeky comments towards the end.
Let's go.
So happy to see you there. Just finally, Mello and Sikley. It's Abu Dhabi next. Mello, it was a heartbreaking end in Baku. How are you feeling for Abu Dhabi? Of course, it's long straight. It's also a technical track, a combination of all sorts of corners. How are you feeling for Abu Dhabi?
Nah, man, myself and the whole team are pumped up for Abu Dhabi. We're looking forward to that. We've already consulted one of our sponsors, Escom. We will not be disturbed going into the race. All our supplies, everything in our shipments will be sorted. So excited going into it.
Beautiful. See, Clay, feelings?
I love Abu Dhabi. Yeah, I think I should just start practicing like I usually do. Yeah, clearly practicing on the day of the race is not really working for me. But yeah, if I do show up, I'll show up at my best. I'll try to.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
it's time. Yeah, it's about time I remind people.
Hey!
This guy.
usikhatheni ngangikhohlwa ukuthi ngubani ngicabanga ukuthi ngubani ngingakhohlwa usikhathi kukwami lana kukwami ulawula mina.
Well, gentlemen, that was a beautiful race. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you in Abu Dhabi. Your podium
you,
finishers,
Tyson.
Zotal is here. Malusi the Malusi is here. Sinkley is here. It's the OG Tier 1 drivers showing the newbies what exactly they're made of. If they thought it was going to be a takeover, well, it's not going to be that simple. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for a beautiful, beautiful race. We will see you on Tuesday next week. Meanwhile, let's catch up with the last of the comments. A couple of shouts for Mello for driver of the day. And I see Zotal defended well. I'm seeing straight line speed remarks towards the end, the battle between Zotal and Django and Sikle and Malusi the Malusi. And I can't wait to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for the comments. We will see you. Remember, Tier 2 races on Monday, and you can catch that race at 8 p.m., followed by Tier 3 closer towards 9 p.m., and we'll see these guys for the top tier on Tuesday. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Let's go.